Good morning, everyone. We'll get started with today's class. So in
Good
the
morning, sir.
previous class, good morning, everyone. In the previous class, we started looking at the common gate amplifier. We moved away from the analysis of common source and we started looking at common gate. Now, we looked at different aspects of it. First of all, we looked at the transfer characteristics, and then we started looking at how the input impedance behaves, how the output impedance behaves, and what is the gain of this amplifier. How does it basically behave? So all these things we have looked at. Now we also looked at the bandwidth aspects of it. Now today we will move over to the noise analysis. Now the reason why we are looking at all these individual amplifiers is because these are going to kind of form the basic building blocks for us to design a much bigger circuit like an op-amp or other types of circuits. So these classes of circuits or these types of behavior, kind of the characteristics of these things kind of remain across even more advanced circuits. So it is important for us to understand how these very basic elements behave, so that when we put them together in a bigger op-amp or a bigger circuit, we know how things are actually going to be, right? Okay, so now let us look at the common gates noise analysis. Now, if you recall what we looked at when we talked about the noise analysis of a common source, we said that we have this amplifier and we are going to denote it by some input referred noise voltage, right? So we said that we have a Vn in square bar and you have a certain gain, and that produces a certain Vn out square bar. Now, this is the notion that we had for, or this is the representation that we did for a common source amplifier. Now, this is valid for a common source amplifier because the input impedance is quite high. It is at least at low frequency analog circuits that we are looking at right now. Excuse me. Now, if you are not looking at RF frequencies and you are only looking at some normal low frequency analog type applications, this is sufficient. This is more than sufficient, right? Because the input impedance is almost infinite, right? But if you look at the common gate amplifier, for the common gate amplifier, let's say a CG amplifier, the input impedance is quite low. What is the input impedance approximately? So the actual thing was RD by RD plus R naught divided by GM plus GMB, or approximately you can say it is 1 over GM plus GMB. This is your input impedance, which is a small value, right? So this idea of just denoting the input, denoting the noise by an input referred noise voltage source no longer is valid, because what happens is that because there is a smaller impedance, it is basically going to consume, it is going to take current inside. So now it also is going to depend on the impedance which is going to be driving it. And therefore, for these types of circuits, we denote them as something like this. You have a Vn squared, Vn in squared, and you have a In in squared bar. So because the impedance is low and there is current flow into the circuit, right? So the way that noise is represented is that you represent it as an input noise voltage power spectral density as well as an input referred noise current power spectral density. The reason being that the uh, the actual noise that is added by the circuit will also depend now on the impedance seen in the previous side. So for example, let's say this is driven by, let's say, some Vs with a certain source impedance Rs. Okay. Now, what will happen is the earlier version of saying that you only have a Vn in squared doesn't take into account what happens to the noise of the common gate because of the source that is driving it, because there can be some noise current flowing back into the source also. And in order to accommodate all these problems, we kind of model it as both the noise voltage power spectral density and the noise current power spectral density both refer to the input. And how do we derive it? We derive it by saying, so Vn in squared. So for example, if you short circuit the input, right? If you short circuit the input, the noise power spectral, the noise current will all flow to the left hand side. That is, it will all get shorted out. And the Vn out squared will be only due to the input referred noise voltage square. So in order to derive or to compute the input referred noise voltage power spectral density, what we do is we short circuit the input and compute Vn out squared, okay, and derive what is Vn in squared. All right. Now, as a corollary, what we will do is basically in order to get the In in squared, what we will do is we will open circuit the input and then compute the Vn out squared bar, and then we will derive the In in squared. Because when you open circuit the input, then Vn in square bar doesn't have any role to play in the output power spectral density. So the key takeaway from this is that when you have an amplifier where the input impedance is not very high, when the input impedance is low, you cannot just denote the noise power spectral density with just an input referred voltage power spectral density. You also have to bring in the current to account for the effect of the overall noise performance on the source that is driving it. Okay. I think if you look at the textbook in chapter 7, I believe, yeah, you will see some examples where they would have taken an amplifier, a common gate amplifier, or something which has a lower input impedance, and shown that, like, if you do not account for this current, how you will end up with some very weird values for your noise performance. Okay. So with this, let us try to compute the input referred noise voltage power spectral density and the input referred noise current power spectral density. So for this particular analysis, what we will do is basically, let's say, okay, we have RD, right? This is here, VB, and this is going to be the Vn. Okay. Now, in order to compute the input referred noise power spectral density, what do? We short circuit the input. In other words, what we do is we say, okay, this is my Vn in squared bar, and then this is grounded. So basically, this is your, let's say, common gate. You have your input referred noise voltage power spectral density source, and then you ground the other side. Now, what are the noise sources here? So we know that we have 4 kT by RD noise current here, and you also have 4 kT gamma GM as your noise current across the transistor, right? So what is your Vn out squared bar? It is nothing but 4 kT divided by RD plus 4 kT gamma GM. This is the total noise current power spectral density multiplied by the output impedance squared. This is your Vn out squared bar. Now, what is your Vn in squared bar? This is nothing but Vn out squared bar divided by Gm plus Gmb, the whole squared, multiplied by R out squared. So in other words, your input referred noise voltage power spectral density is nothing but 4 kT 1 by RD plus Gm divided by Gm plus GMB the whole square. This is your input referred noise voltage power spectral density. Any doubts, any questions? Let me just try to find Vn in square bar, open circuit the, sorry, short circuit the input. Okay, any questions, any doubts? All right. Now let us try to compute the In in squared bar. So what do we do to find In in squared bar? We need to open circuit the input and find, let's say, Vn out squared bar, and then finally find In in squared bar. So let's take the same example. You have your this thing. Now here what we are doing is we are just open circuiting it. When you say open circuit, you only have the noise current source at the input. So you have In in squared bar. Let's say this is VB. So again, what do you get here? You basically get 4K. Yeah. So here what happens is that you have, okay, let's, here there's a very interesting thing that happens. This is 4KT by RD. This is 4KT by 4KT gamma GM. Now here, if you look at this, if you, let's say we are open circuiting this, right? So when you are open circuit, anyway, this is a current source. So basically this cannot draw, I mean, this cannot draw any excess current, right? So it is as good as saying like, this is how it is. Now, at this particular node, if you do a KCL, what do you get? Let's say this is INT, and let's say this is ID. There is a drain current of the transistor, right? Now, if you look at this particular circuit, okay, now this 4KT gamma GM has to flow through ID only. This 4KT gamma GM has to flow through the transistor only, because even though you model it as a current source, I mean, otherwise the circuit doesn't get completed. So the because you're open circuiting the input, and this is just a model to refer, kind of show that, you know, this is the input referred noise current. So this entire 4KT gamma GM flows back into the transistor, right? Because the current has nowhere else to flow. It is an open circuited. We have open circuited this particular input, right? So ID will be equal to minus of IND. That is the noise current. So we say this is what is called as the noise current circulates within the transistor. Okay. So the noise current of the transistor circulates within itself. It does not come to the output, which means that it does not contribute to your Vn out squared. Your Vn out squared is given only by 4KT by RD. Okay. RD multiplied by R out squared. All right. And therefore, in order to this current keeps flowing inside anyway, because this current has nowhere else to flow. In other words, what you can say is the In in squared can be written as 4KT divided by RD. The same current basically flows out. Okay. Or in other words, we can also say that this In out squared is 4KT by RD. The same current is going to flow through the input also. In other words, what are we saying here? Here we are saying that the noise current of the load is directly referred to the input. Is it clear? We said that the common gate, because of its low input impedance, has to be modeled with both the noise voltage source and the noise current source in order to account for the effects of the source impedance that is driving it. And therefore, the way we compute it is one is short circuit the input and the other is open circuit the input. Vn in squared, we were able to directly compute. But whereas for the In in squared, when we computed, we saw that because we are open circuiting the input, right, the noise current of the transistor just circulates within itself and it does not come or appear at the output. And therefore, the only noise source that is there is basically the resistor. And that noise, because the current gain of the common gate is unity, that is whatever you put at the source reaches the drain, and whatever you put at the drain reaches the source. The noise current at the drain directly reaches the input referred noise current source. And therefore, we draw the conclusion that the noise current of the load is directly referred to the input, which is actually a bad thing. Okay, it's a drawback. That is, so if the resistor's noise current directly appears at the output. Any doubts, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. So now let us look at a little more practical implementation of a common gate. Now, yeah.
So can you explain that voltage noise again, sir? Input voltage noise, sir.
This part?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, this part is simple. So what I'm doing is I'm computing the, this is the noise input. So I'm short circuiting the input. So in this particular thing, if I short circuit the input, what happens? You have Vn in squared and then the other side is shorted. That's what I've drawn here. So the In out squared bar will be nothing but what? The sum of those two currents, because In out squared bar is basically telling us the short circuit output current, so which is nothing but 4 kT by Rd plus 4 kT gamma Gm. Right? And Vn out squared can be written as what? In out squared multiplied by R out squared, which is what I have written in this particular equation. Okay. And the gain, so you have the output voltage, we need to find out the input voltage. And how do you do that? It is basically by looking at, dividing by the gain squared. The gain is what? In the previous class, we derived the gain.
Okay, sir. We got,
right?
we got, I got, sir.
You got it? Right. Okay. Fine.
Yes.
All right. Now let us, if you look at a more practical implementation of your common gate amplifier, right? So in this particular example, we say, okay, you have your RD, you have, let's say this is your VB. Now, I also mentioned that at the beginning of the previous class, we looked at this common gate amplifier, right? If you have a current source to bias this whole thing, right? Now, in many cases, what happens is that you don't allow the DC current of your common gate amplifier to directly go completely into the source. So instead, what you would do is that you will bias it using a current source like this, so that the current source is basically going to take care of, this is going to be your bias current. And here you connect your input voltage here. You connect your input here. Now, if you have the provision of doing it externally, like you can, if the input is coming from outside, you can always put a DC block and then you can connect your input, right? Now, how do you implement this current source? We have already seen how to implement current sources. Basically, we are going to use a transistor, right? This is going to act as a current source. Let's say this is M1. Let's call this as M2. Now, how to generate the bias voltage for this one? We use a current mirror, right? We are quite familiar with all these things. right? Let's call this M3. Okay. Now you have some reference current coming in. You bias use a current mirror and you bias this particular current source. So this current mirror part we are very comfortable with, right? Like we have already seen that. So the current source is replaced by M2. Now the question is, what happens when you have what happens to the circuit? What happens to the noise of the circuit when you are going to have your current source being implemented as a transistor? Now, if you look at the Vn in squared, what did we do? We short circuited the output, right? So which means that, the noise of M2 is also short circuited, correct? So this is the point that we short circuited. So whatever noise that is there, let's say this will obviously, because this is in saturation, this will have a noise of 4 kT gamma GM2. And this noise, because we are short circuiting at this particular point, right, the noise will get short circuited and therefore it does not affect the input referred. It does not appear at the output and therefore it does not affect your input referred noise, voltage, power spectral density. Whereas in the case of noise, when your input is open circuited, when Vn is open circuited, what happens? This current will directly flow to the output. Correct. The noise of M1 circulates within itself. The noise of RD is there. This current, it doesn't circulate within itself. It has nowhere else to go. It will just go directly to the output. Or in other words, what we can say is that this current goes to the output as, let's say, 4 kT gamma GM2. This is the current which appears at the output. Therefore, Vn out squared will be 4 kT gamma GM2 multiplied by RD squared or R out squared. And then, this is the output noise, and the input referred noise current will be what? You multiply it by, basically the same current is going to come. So the input referred noise current will become what? The same 4 kT gamma GM added to, so let's say this is 4 kT by RD multiplied by RD squared. So you get 4 kT gamma GM divided by 4 kT by RD. So this becomes your IN in square bar. Okay. So basically what happens is your Vn in squared is not affected, but your IN in squared, the noise your bias transistor directly adds to your input referred noise source. Okay. So the conclusion is that the noise of the biasing transistor directly adds to IN in squared bar. Okay. Now, what about the noise of M3? Now, the noise of M3 will also have, 4 kT gamma GM3, right? And that appears at the gate of M2. So it can get multiplied by, this is the noise current per spectral density. You can find out the voltage and then multiply it by the GM and all that. So in order to prevent the noise of this M3 also from coming, especially at little higher frequencies, what people do is put a nice large capacitor C0 at this particular point. Okay. So the noise, you put a C0 here to, you try to filter. Basically, the job of this capacitor is to filter out noise due to, let's say, M3, I1, etc. Okay. Now, I1 also will be some transistor, right? Like you will have some band gap reference and you'll have some current mirrors. And that is the thing that is going to come. Now, in order to filter out those noise, you put a capacitor here. The reason you can put a capacitor here and not a capacitor anywhere else is because if you put a capacitor in other places, you're going to compromise on your bandwidth, right? But this particular point is just a bias line. There is no need for any high frequency components here. And therefore you put a capacitor and filter out all the unwanted noise components due to your mirroring on the left hand side. Okay. So you will always see that if you look at circuits which are done professionally in the industry, you will see that wherever possible, especially on the bias lines, they'll put some capacitance to ground to make sure, basically just to filter out the noise. All right. Okay. Now,
So what are the typical values of this C naught?
see, okay. So what happens is, like, it also depends on, definitely this will be a MOS cap, right? Because it is from a node to ground. So it can be a MOS cap. So its density is quite high. Now it also depends on what is the frequency of interest. Okay. For example, if the frequency of interest is probably in the higher kilohertz range, let's say audio frequency range. So what is the impedance at this point? This is a diode connector transistor, right? So the impedance at this point is 1 over GM. So basically, you can think of it as a 1 by GM parallel to C naught. That will be this thing. The pole of the filter will also be 1 by GM by 2 pi C naught. That will be the pole of the filter. So depending on the GM that you're having for your M3, right, you will design your value of C naught such that the corner frequency is kind of below your frequency of interest. Okay, so it kind of differs from application to application, and also it depends on the noise performance that is actually required. Okay. So what happens is, like in Cadence, when you design, you can look at the noise contributors and you will see which transistor is contributing how much noise. And if you feel that the current biasing part is contributing a lot of noise, you go and add the capacitance there till you bring the noise under control. Okay. So yeah, it's difficult to directly put a number, but I think because it's a MOS cap, you can definitely go in the order of few picofarads. Again, it all depends on how much area you're willing to spare versus the noise performance that you expect. So if you're more bothered about noise, you don't mind putting more capacitance, especially if the majority of the noise is coming from your bias circuit, right? If the noise is dominated by, let's say, M2 or M1, then there's no point putting more capacitance here. So it's all extremely, application specific, the context specific. That's how it is. Okay.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, in the PCBs, usually we make the ground is the lower layer, like the PCB below layer is the ground, and the above layer it contains some 7-8 layers. In that, one of them will be metal layer. So, sir, won't we get a inbuilt capacitor there, like the dielectric in the PCB itself act as something like a dielectric in the capacitor?
Okay, you're asking about PCB or you're asking about the stack up of the IC?
So PCB here, like ICs will be built on a PCB or some dielectric.
No, see, IC, the packaged IC will sit on a PCB. That is true. Okay. Here, this routing is all internal, no? All these things are going to sit within a single chip.
Okay, so the ground in the PCB will not affect this thing.
Okay, let me kind of give you some clarity. Let's say this is our PCB. Okay, this is your PCB. All right. Let's say this is our IC. This is our IC package. All right. Let's say this is our IC package of the chip, package of the IC. Now within this is going to sit your actual die. Your silicon die will be very, very small actually, right? Now, depending on the type of package that you're using, like for example, if you're using a DIP package or a QFN package or a QFP package or TSOP or all those things, you'll basically have bond wires coming out. Bond wires coming out of the chip too. Okay. It will be like this, right? Okay. Now, when you do the routing on a PCB, basically, let us say this is your ground line. Let's say you will do some routing like this, and then let's say it goes like this, and then you come somewhere like this. Let's say you put some vias, go down, and then this routing is going to go, and then let's say go here, something like this. Let's say I'm just giving some examples. All right. Let's say this is your VDD point. Let's say this is your ground point. I'm just giving some example here. Now, for the die, for the actual circuit, right, this blue color thing which is there, this is, let's say this is your IC. Your IC. Okay. Now, let us say you have some, transistors and all that sitting here, and then, this is your ground line, and then you have some transistors, okay, a lot of stuff which is happening here. Let's say this is your VDD line. Okay. Now, let's say your VDD line is pinned out here. Let's say the ground line is pinned out here, for example. Now, what we are talking about is let's say the band gap reference sits somewhere here, and then you have it comes here, and you put one current mirror, and then you do the circuit inside. So the entire thing, whatever we are looking at here, this whole thing is going to sit inside your chip. Okay. Now we are talking about the noise generated by this band gap reference, the noise generated by these things, and so on. You are asking about this capacitance. Is it about this capacitance, or in general you are asking about the capacitance between ground and something else?
So it is about this capacitance.
This capacitance, okay. So when you say this capacitance, what happens is you are going to put some MOS capacitances here. This basically will be the MOS gate connected and the drain and source connected together. So it will be like, we have seen MOS capacitor, right? So this is the MOS capacitor. That will be one terminal. The drain and source together will be another terminal. Now all this is going to sit in the vicinity of your actual circuit. Okay. So for example, if I were to kind of zoom in and draw, this is how it is going to be. Okay, this is your M3, this is your M2. Maybe you'll have multiple things like this. Now, all these grounds which I have connected will all be put together as a piece of wire. Okay, it's a piece of trace. It will be a metal trace. Okay, so this will be a metal trace, this will be a metal trace. All these things are metal traces. Okay. Now, finally, this comes out to this bond pad. And as we have seen here already here, this bond pad will have some capacitance to ground, and then this will have some inductance. And then here, this pad will also have some capacitance to the PCB substrate. And then these traces will have inductance, will have some resistance, and they'll also have capacitance to the ground. Okay. And then it finally reaches here. You understood? So yes, the ground line has, so this capacitor that we are talking about is purely on chip. Okay. This capacitor transistor, everything is on chip. Nothing is out of the chip. All right. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. So this all these capacitors will be added into the CNOT, right? The other capacitors which are outside the chip, because this is not a perfect ground.
It will not be added to the chip because see, this whole thing, this wire only is ground wire. Okay. This is only coming to the external, I mean, to outside the IC. Okay. This node is not exposed to the outside world at all. Let's call this node X, this, the current biasing node, this node X, this does not come out of the chip at all. Okay. Only ground VDD, maybe input, output will come out of the chip. So yes, it will have some ground, but it will have some capacitance, but that capacitance is with respect to the next layer. So as you said, let's say if you take a 2-layer PCB, right? So let's say this is the top layer, the bottom layer, let's say if you're putting a ground, right? So if it is a ground and you're putting vias, then, all those things get shorted out, nothing is there. Whereas for the VDD, what will happen is basically this VDD will form some capacitance to the bottom layer. Okay, so you'll have a VDD to ground capacitance, right? And if you, let's say this is your input line, for example, okay, let's say this is your input. Now, if your bottom layer is full, it's a complete copper core of the ground, then this input is going to form a capacitance to the ground layer or the bottom layer. Now, the bottom layer need not be a complete ground also. You can have, routing in the ground as well. Like you can have other signal routings, but whatever is underneath, it will form some capacitance. And that capacitance is not too much because now the height is quite large, right? Like you're talking about some, so many tens of mils of height. Typically, I think a 2-layer PCB will be around some 63 mils or something like that, right? So it is quite thick. So the capacitance that you get is not so great. That is why you put. So because of all these problems, you put actually, you will actually put some supply decoupling capacitor between the VDD and ground at this point. And you'll also put one capacitor here to kind of take care of all the RFI, EMI, and so on. Which is why you'll see that any DC power supply line on a PCB, it will have two capacitors. One at the point where it, kind of comes into the board, and other capacitor at the point where it is just about to go into the chip. So that it can take care of all this inductances and things like that, and make sure that it is predominantly a low pass kind of a network. Is it clear? Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the C0, I mean, there is capacitance between ground and maybe VDD, ground and maybe some other line, but definitely not between ground and this node X outside the chip. Right? So this has to be put on chip because this node X is not exposed to outside the chip. Okay. I hope that answers the question. Right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So now we have looked at the noise of the biasing transistors. Let's also quickly look at the flicker noise. Right. Now, what about the flicker noise? So now for this, what we can do is that, let's say, this RD can also be substituted as what? So we know that if you keep using RD, if you want to increase the output impedance, you have to increase RD, which means this is going to steal away a lot of the headroom, right? Because for a given bias current, it will take a certain DC voltage across RD. Now, a good solution to that is basically to use a PMOS transistor, right? Because this is going to give you an impedance of R0. Let's call this as transistor M4, whatever. Okay, let's call it transistor 3 here. So this is going to have an impedance of R03, which is fairly in the kilo ohm range. But all that it needs is nothing but your VD SAT to operate, right? So this is a very good compromise, or rather very good solution, rather than in using a resistor. Because in a resistor, if you keep increasing the resistor, you will lose headroom here, and this node voltage will keep dropping down. Okay. Now that problem is solved by using this. Now, if you use a PMOS transistor, and let's say this is your VB, this is your M1, let's call it M1. And then let's say you have your bias transistor. Let's call this as M2. Let's say this is your, this is your bias transistor. And this is your input. Now, what are the flicker noise sources? You can add the flicker noise sources for all of them. Let's say VNF3 squared bar. This is VNF1 squared bar. This is VNF2 squared bar. Now, all these things will get added. Now, how can we, again, we need to do for this thing. So let us open short circuit Vin and calculate Vn out squared bar. Now, what is Vn out squared bar here? So if you short circuit the input, the flicker noise due to M2, right? Fn due to M2 is also short circuited, so it does not appear in the picture. So all that you would have is basically, let's say, Kn divided by WL1 Cox F multiplied by Gm1 squared plus K P by WL3 Cox F multiplied by GM3 squared. This whole thing multiplied by the output impedance. Let's call it R out squared. Okay. And therefore, the Vn in squared can be written as, this is Vn out squared bar is given by this number. Vn out squared divided by GM1 plus GMB1 the whole squared multiplied by R out squared. Okay. This will be your input referred noise voltage power spectral density due to the flicker noise. If you talk about the input noise current source, that is, you open circuit Vin and calculate what is your total this thing. So Vn out, let's call it Vn2 out squared is now going to be. So if you short circuit the, open circuit the input, what happens? The noise of M1, as we saw, will always circulate within itself. So it's only going to be the noise of M2 and the noise of M3. So we can write this as 1 by Cox F WL2 times, oops, where is this? Yeah, Kn times Gm2 squared plus Kp Gm3 squared divided by Cox F WL3. This is the total current. This whole thing multiplied by R out squared is the output thing. Now your In in squared is nothing but this, just this total current, because this, Kn Gm squared, Gm2 squared by WL2 Cox F plus Kp Gm3 squared divided by WL3 Cox F. Right? This is going to be your In in squared. Right? So this is how your flicker noise is basically going to behave. Okay. Now, I just wanted to point out one thing. If you take a transistor, right? Let's say biased in saturation. If you look at it, look at the impedance from the drain side, you'll get R0. If you look at the impedance from the source side, what will you get? Let's say this is biased in saturation.
Sir, 1 by Gm.
1 by Gm.
Yeah, you'll get 1 by Gm or 1 by Gm plus GMB, depending on what happens to the bulb. So this is a very important thing that you should keep in mind. This is something that we derived in the previous class also, because in the common gate amplifier, this is what we saw. And another thing is, let's say you have some resistor RD here, right? If you are going to look up through the source, what will you get? You will get this R0 plus this RD divided by Gm plus GMB. Okay, this is what you would actually get if you look at it from the source side. Okay, this is again another important result, because these results are important to kind of have in mind, because okay, was it? What did we derive the input impedance to be, the full version? I think RD, sorry, I got it. RD plus R0 divided by 1 plus Gm plus GMB into R0. Yeah, I got this. Yeah. So it is 1 plus GMB into R0. This is what we basically got. Correct. So this, if R0 is, so if your R0 is not very high, you will get this. If R0 is very high, this will get approximated to 1 by Gm plus GMB. All right. So in other words, if you have some resistance at the drain node and you're looking at the impedance from the source side, the way you can write the impedance is you write the sum of the two impedances, because of course you have R0 here. So R0 plus RD, the sum of the two impedances divided by this factor 1 plus GM plus GMB into R0. Now the same thing, let's say you have a transistor, again biased in saturation, and you have some resistance at the source, and you're going to look at the impedance from the drain side. What is this going to be? This impedance is basically going to be R0 plus RS plus GM R0 times RS. Okay. Or in other words, you can also actually, if you do not consider the GM thing, if you don't consider the body effect, this is what you would get. If you bring in the body effect, you'll basically get, 1 plus GM plus GMB times R0, the whole thing into RS plus R0. This is basically what you would get. Okay, so you will get you will see that this factor, you can see that the impedance is divided down by this factor 1 plus GM plus GMB R0. If you look at it from the source side, if you look at it from the drain side, it is multiplied by this factor 1 plus GM plus GMB R0, okay, and added to R0. Okay. So these are some, these are what are called as the impedance transformations done by a MOSFET. Okay, and these results are important for us to kind of keep in mind, because this will help us to understand when you have a more complicated circuit with so many transistors and so on. If you can reduce them to one of these forms, it is easy for us to estimate what will be the impedance fairly accurately. If you look from the source, the total sum of the resistance is divided by this factor 1 plus GM plus GMB times R0. If you look at it from the drain, it is multiplied by the factor 1 plus GM plus GMB times R0, and of course added to R0. Okay. All right. Okay. So with this, I'll conclude today's class, and I will, as I mentioned, we will continue. I mean, in today's afternoon class, we'll have the special class at 3 o'clock. So please join in with the same link. So 3 o'clock, same link. I'll take one extra class so that we can try to complete our kind of make up for the lost time. All right. So any doubts, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day. Yeah. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, Chirag.
So,
Yeah.
so what is the schedule for the retest?
Okay. So schedule for the retest as was discussed earlier. Let's have it on Monday afternoon. Monday afternoon, 4 o'clock is fine.
So might be the BTech guys have the lab that day. The same.
Oh yeah, you guys are telling. When is your lab? Can you tell me again?
So
3 onwards.
we can have on
4:30. Sir, 4:30
Sorry?
on Monday.
Okay,
4:30.
4:30 to 5 o'clock. Okay, 4:30 to 5 on Monday evening will be the retest. Is it okay?
Okay, sir.
Same syllabus as the first quiz. So what we can do is like what you got in the quiz. So this is purely optional. So if you don't want to take up the retest, that's fine. It's not kind of a retest, it's kind of a makeup test. So if you don't want to take it up, no problems. It's purely optional. I will create the question paper, same syllabus, and half an hour only. It will be for 10 marks. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, thanks guys. Yeah, have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.